I don't really know where to start. Except that I watched a triple overtime game where one coach realized that as a coach in hockey, you have 4 lines. And maybe you don't play your 4th line that much in overtime. You know, it's very intense. It's very close. You don't run 2 lines for 3 overtime periods. That's insane. There's no justification for that. I don't want to hear it. I'm just kidding. If you have a reaction, if you have an opinion, let me know. But like, are you insane? This isn't soccer. You can't play 90 minutes. Like, it's hockey. And like I just said, you're playing the most physical team in the league. That wears you down. The first 45 minutes of this game, it wasn't as much in the 3rd period, was just hitting. It was just every time you touched the puck, you got hit. And I don't know what it was. It was either from behind, it was cross-checking, into the boards. Like, you just got hit. Especially Montreal. Boston was doing majority of the hitting. So you spent the first 45 minutes of a game skating around, getting hit. And then your coach asks you to play a whole other game after that? No, that's not a thing. Like, I don't understand this. This is my thing. If you're a coach and you only play 2 lines, you have 4 lines. I'm talking about the forwards. What message does that send to your team? I can't imagine you're happy either way in that game. You're either in the top 6 and you got absolutely ran to death. You cannot breathe right now because they played upwards of 50 fucking minutes. Sorry for the swearing. Sort of beeped it out. Or you're in the bottom 6 and you're pissed because you didn't play. You sat on the bench for 2 hours. How can you be happy right now? You can't be happy if you're either side of that equation. That's why I'm like, how can you go back in that room and not go, coach, what the heck? What were you thinking? Are you insane? How did you think we were going to win that way? Like, that's how Boston plays in a regular game. That's how they play for 60 minutes. Is they're one of those teams that are like, we know we have the best goaltender. We're going to hit, we're going to wear you down, and then we're going to win the game because you're going to be exhausted. That's in a regular game, a 60-minute game. This was 60 minutes of regular game and then 52 minutes of overtime. And you thought you were going to win by playing 2 lines and playing Erin Ambrose to death. She played over an hour in this game. That makes a little bit more sense for a defenseman, I'll admit. Sometimes in crazy amount of overtime, you can get maybe that much playing time. But a forward? You're playing Laura Stacey over 50 minutes? If that all Laura Stacey does is skate. Like, she just skates her hardest every shift. Forward, forecheck, back check. That's all she does. And you tried to play her for 50 minutes? And you think she's going to be effective at that point? Like, Laura Stacey was there. She played the most on forward, and I knew that. I knew that just watching. I didn't need you to give me the ice time, but I saw the ice time, and it was over 50 minutes. Because she never came off. I always think, God, it's going to suck for a goaltender, because everybody's kind of coming off in overtime, and you're just on the entire time. You got to stay focused, and you can't let anything past you for 60 minutes, and then you got to keep going for another 60 minutes. That's crazy. Let me just say, though, Erin Frankel looked completely unfazed. She is 24 years old. She is 5'5", which is crazy short for a goaltender, and she looked so unfazed in that game, in that overtime. She didn't look tired at all. And like I said, she's the best goaltender in the playoffs. You're not going to beat her with a little flick on net. Like, it's got to be good. And they did. They had some quality, really great A chances. Guess what? Frankel made the saves. That's what good goalies do. And they had power plays. Let me just also say, Montreal's only beaten Frankel on the power play. 2 games, she's given up 2 goals, each on the power play. She's never been beaten at even strength. And Montreal got a ton of power plays. If you're a Montreal fan, I don't want to hear complaining about, oh, this should have been called. You got a 5-minute major in overtime. If you didn't score on that, you weren't going to score on the power play. That's it. I didn't agree with that call. Let me just say that. There was so much let go in this game that it seemed crazy that was the thing that they were like, no, get out of the game. And they ejected Agia. didn't agree with that at all. I don't think she was targeting the head or anything like that. Just kind of clipped her, but like she had the puck, it wasn't interference, so I don't know what that was. You can let me know your opinions. I did see it from about 50 different angles. I put it up on the channel if you want to go see it. But I don't think it was a 5-minute major. I don't think there was any intent to hit the head, any intent to injure, anything like that. This was a very physical game, and there was a lot of other things that could have been called. But I don't agree with that, and Montreal had their share of power plays, and they couldn't score. They couldn't get it going, and part of the reason is that, oh yeah, your power play is your top players. So don't run them to death. And the part that, like, really drives me crazy is that this is a series. This wasn't a one-and-done game where it's like, okay, we can't afford to put the third line out because we can't get scored. This is a series. You can't win a series with 2 lines. That's not how it works. That's the whole objective, if that's your plan for the other team, is just wear those players down, and you win the game. Hillary Knight, who you would think did play the most for Boston at like 45 minutes, which is still a lot. It's just not as much as the Montreal players played. And that's one player that they played a ton. That was their 2 lines that Montreal just ran ragged in that game. And I don't know how they come back from that. Like, when you lose in a triple, quadruple overtime, you are so deflated when you lose. And to have played that much and lost, like, you didn't even come away with the win after all that. Because sometimes you try that, you run your top players, then you're like, eventually it runs out, you don't win anymore. They didn't even win. They're down 2-0 in this series, and it's going back to Boston. They got 1 extra day to rest with the travel. But other than that, they got 2 days off to regroup from that absolute marathon. I don't see them doing it. And I'm upset because, not because I'm a Montreal fan, but just because I want each series to go 5 games. And we're not going to get that, I don't think, with the Toronto series. And I don't think we're going to get it with this series now. Because I think Montreal's dead. I think they are exhausted thanks to their coach. And I don't know if you bring her back next year. I wouldn't. I didn't like it at all. Like I said, I don't think it matters whether you're the top 6 or the bottom 6. You're mad right now. You don't like how she coached that game. So, those are my thoughts. Some positive thoughts. I did like the game. Boston is an absolute menace to play against. They've got 3 of the most physical players in the league on their D-core, in their top 4. So it doesn't really matter when you go out. You're pretty much always going against one of them. And they hit to hurt. There's players who hit to separate the player from the puck. And then there's players that hit because they want to pound you through the boards. And that's kind of how Boston plays. And that's not a knock on them. I absolutely love how they play. It's incredibly difficult to play against. If we do get Toronto versus Boston, I think that's going to be a really fun series. Toronto is going to have to go up against Pwhl. Like I said, kind of feels unbeatable at this point. I don't think Toronto's power play is actually as good as Montreal's, so if Montreal can't score, we'll see what Toronto does. Boston just kind of squeaked into the playoffs, and that's kind of what happens sometimes. It's that team that's been battling the last couple weeks of the season that makes it to the finals or makes a deep run because they've been playing playoff hockey way before everybody else. Toronto's been sitting at number 1 for a while now. Montreal is sitting at number 2. Boston had to absolutely play their butt off just to get into the playoffs, and now they're just rolling. They look unbeatable right now. Pwhl looks unbeatable. They're not a fun team to play against in the least, and I hope we get a 5-game series. I don't think we're going to, but we'll see. We'll see. Don't count out Marie-Philippe Poulin. It's like counting out Crosby. It's just a stupid thing to do. So I hope we get it. That's gonna do it for this video. This is my first reaction rant sort of video. I just could not disagree more with the coaching in that game, so I thought I'd make a video. It was a very fun game. We got 6 periods almost of hockey, and yeah, hope you have a good day. Wish your mother happy Mother's Day, and that's gonna do it for this one. Pdub, peace out.